You are, Kate.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you. Well, as Dominica mentioned, my name is Kate Hillenbrand. I serve as the Director of Communications and Outreach for the Alaska Commission on Education. Many of you I maybe saw on Tuesday when I presented about ACPE. And today we're going to speak or share a bit more about our FAFSA initiative. So hopefully I do this right today. I ran into some technical difficulties on Tuesday, sharing my screen and getting the PowerPoint going, but hopefully today we are all set. So I'm here today to speak about the Alaska FAFSA Completion Initiative. And to do that, we need to back up just as one step and give a very brief overview about the FAFSA, or the free application for federal student aid. And so while this may be repeat information for many of you, it might be new to others. So very quickly, what is the FAFSA and why is it important to complete, especially for our Alaskan students? So by completing the FAFSA, again, this free application for federal student aid, and I believe you've heard about the FAFSA this morning from Federal Student Aid, a Federal Student Aid representative. So this should be pretty fresh in your minds, but basically filling out this application increases students' access to funding options and their opportunities to attend schools or trade programs after they complete high school. And historically, Alaska is either last or next to last in FAFSA completion national rankings. So that means our students are missing out on a tremendous amount of federal aid. And the other piece, just a little myth buster, we want to make sure to say over and over again, is that FAFSA is not only for loans. For a long time, we would hear that we don't want to fill out the FAFSA because we don't want to take out a loan. That's only one part of what a financial aid package could look like that a student receives by completing the FAFSA. So it's part, but it's not the whole. So by completing the FAFSA, submitting the FAFSA, students may also gain access to grants, and so financial need-based awards, scholarships, work study, as well as institutional aid. So grants and scholarships that may be offered by the academic institution or the training program that they're pursuing or that they're looking to attend. And then lastly, kind of that overarching U.S. Department of Education, to kind of give you an idea, they provide more than $120 billion annually in financial aid to students across the country. So as we started to talk about and kind of narrowing our focus a bit as to why this is so important for all of you to know about, is truly because of its impacts for our Alaskan students and what FAFSA completion means to them, or could mean to them, I should say. So again, we know that there are billions of dollars available by the U.S. Department of Education for federal aid. And just in our most recent couple of years, the high school classes of 2021 and 22, they've left over $10 million in Pell Grants on the table, so left that money unclaimed by not completing the FAFSA. So that is it's a substantial amount of money that are needed. The students who have the highest financial need could have utilized to pursue education, but because they did not complete the FAFSA, they did not have access to those funds. And then, just broadly speaking, research does indicate to us that students who complete the FAFSA typically attend, they persist, they continue from year to year, and then complete their post-secondary education programming at higher rates than students who do not complete the FAFSA. So again, something to kind of keep in the back of your mind there. So the second bullet, I just wanted to give you one kind of very brief example of the kind of money separate from the top statistic about the $10 million in Pell, but some Alaska-based or taking the Pell, but then also looking at Alaska-based aid and doing a quick calculation of what students could be missing out on if they don't submit the FAFSA. So we have our Alaska Performance Scholarship, which we did briefly discuss on Tuesday. The highest level award for that is $4,755. The Alaska Education Grant, which we mentioned as well, is a need-based grant that awards up to $4,000 a year. And then looking at the Pell Grant, around $6,800. So if a student submits the FAFSA and qualifies for a full Pell Grant, qualifying for the Alaska Education Grant, and then for the Alaska Performance Scholarship at the highest level there, you're looking at over $15,000 a year just on those 3 awards that a student would potentially be missing out on by not completing the FAFSA. It's a very Alaska-specific example, but it's important to show the impact of what they would lose out on, again, by not completing the FAFSA. So the last piece here is that we also do know that without access to these funds, so our Alaska students will typically take one of 2 paths by not completing the FAFSA. They either decide, yes, I am still going to pursue post-secondary even without the FAFSA, and then they end up borrowing much larger sums of money in education loans than they would necessarily need to. So kind of perpetuating higher student debt, or they choose not to pursue post-secondary education or career training of any kind, which, as we all know, has substantial workforce readiness implications as well. So, knowing all of this and seeing how critically important it is for our Alaska students to complete the FAFSA and for all of us to really kind of wrap our arms around supporting FAFSA completion in our schools and in our Alaska communities, ACPE is leading the Alaska FAFSA Completion Initiative, or AFCI, you may have heard it, AFCI, as we've also referred to it. So the purpose in creating AFCI is really to increase Alaska's FAFSA completion rates. And we do that through collaborating with education stakeholders, with many of you here in this ACAC training across the state. So, this is another opportunity for us to collaborate, inform, and then work with you in promoting and supporting FAFSA completion with the students and families that you work with and that you connect with again in your communities. So we have built out the Alaska FAFSA completion website. So there's a lot of information on there. This website, as with the FAFSA completion initiative, it has been kind of growing and developing each year. We're a few years into it now. And so the Alaska FAFSA completion website really is kind of a one-stop that has some wonderful resources for FAFSA ambassador contact information, for completion resources that you can work with us to connect either you or, again, students and families that you work with in your communities. Ongoing efforts to kind of build up an Alaska community-based FAFSA event calendar. So if you do have information about any events happening in your communities, or you're interested in hosting events, that's also something we can help with. And then lastly, there are also FAFSA testimonials and trending topics about what's going on with the FAFSA these days that are really relevant and helpful to you, as well as, again, to your students and families. So with the Alaska FAFSA Completion Initiative, we want you to join us and get involved and participate in some of our trainings and connect your students and families with some of the services that are offered. As you probably heard this morning from our colleagues at Federal Student Aid, there is a new FAFSA coming out. Well, there's a new FAFSA every year, I should say, but the better FAFSA, that is a revamped FAFSA, will be released a little bit later than usual this year. The December, they're shooting for it, the release date of December 2023. So a lot is going on right now in terms of learning and planning what this new FAFSA will look like, so that we can all be as prepared as possible to ensure that our students and families are able to complete it in a timely manner when it is released. And then all of the, the resources that we typically offer to help Alaskans complete their FAFSA will also be, again, ready to go with this new release. And then finally, we are also hosting the first ever Alaska FAFSA Summit in October. It is in person at the Anchorage Downtown Marriott. This is a free event for those 2 days, the 26th and 27th. And much like we have talked about with the ACAC program in general, with the Alaska FAFSA Completion Initiative, this summit is kind of taking that one step further. It really is about collaboration, bringing stakeholders together from secondary, from post-secondary, from our community organizations, to really kind of wrap our hands around, as I've said before, what are the actionable things that we can be doing together to move us forward in increasing FAFSA completion here in Alaska. So you are able to register for the FAFSA Summit on the FAFSA Completion, Alaska FAFSA Completion page. And we, as I said, we are, the event will be free, and we absolutely hope that you are able to join us at the end of October, because I think it's really going to be an exciting and informative event that will move us into this next phase of FAFSA completion. And so with that, I thank all of you, and we'll turn it back to you, Dominica. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate, for your time this morning. Do we have any questions for Kate? I've been sharing website links to Alaska FAFSA Completion Initiative and to Eventbrite as well for individuals to register for our first Alaska FAFSA Summit. So please take advantage of that. I don't see any questions in the chat box. I do have a raised hand. Adrienne, yes?
Yes, I'm sorry for coming in late. I see the new FAFSA date is December 1st. Are students in state and out of state able to still register in October 1st, or should they wait till the new FAFSA in December?
So when you're talking about registering, thank you for the question. I'm not sure you were referring to completing the FAFSA, or are you talking about
completing? Yes, ma'am, completing the FAFSA, excuse me.
Yeah, so thank you for that clarifying question. The FAFSA itself, like let's say, for example, a student is a senior in high school right now, and they would be looking to attend post-secondary a year from now, fall after they graduate high school. They have to wait until the new FAFSA has been released in December. There won't be a FAFSA available in October.
Oh, thank you so much for the clarification.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that also applies to students that are already in college. They should wait till December.
Right. So the 24-25 FAFSA will not be available
till December.
Whether they're current or new students. The 24-25 FAFSA will not be available until December.
Thank you so much.
Just to clarify, I thought I heard December 1st as the launch for from Adrienne, did you mean December 1st, or that was because as of right now, we still don't know when in December of this year FAFSA will be released.
Oh, thank you for that clarification. I'll just stay posted for when you guys post it and let us know when it's actually rolled out.
And we'll know once federal student aid let us know.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? All right, if we don't, Kate, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing all this wonderful information about Alaska FAFSA Completion Initiative.
My pleasure. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.